Welcome to Streams of Income, hosted by best-selling author and entrepreneur Dr. David Powers, where we discuss streams of income, passive income, residual income, and even why there are dinosaurs and zombies in this intro. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to dive in.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Streams of Income podcast. I am here with a new friend of mine, Kasim, and I've been really looking forward to this. Number one, when I saw the background behind him, all those books, I am a book nerd, and so I'll be sure to ask him some about the books, but also I'm just really curious about what this guy does, and because everything I've seen, he does some pretty amazing stuff, so I think you're going to enjoy this. So, Kasim, am I pronouncing it right? Kasim?
It's like awesome with a K, Kasim.
Kasim. Okay, Kasim. I hate it when I butcher people's names. So Kasim, tell me, tell the listeners, because I've been looking up on you a little bit on the website and everything, but go ahead and tell the listeners what it is that you do for income.
Oh, gosh. Well, I built the number one ranked Google Ads agency in the world. I sold it in October 2022 for a low eight-figure sum to a SoftBank-backed MarTech company. So after an exit, I call myself a business builder. And I'm good at what's probably the dumbest and least effective business model in the world, which is building professional service agencies. I've built 6 businesses that have exceeded 7 and or 8 figures in revenue. I've had 3 exits so far. I have meaningful involvement in 15 different entities from a founder perspective. I don't run any of those day to day. I think the one thing I'm world class at is talent acquisition. And now I just kind of roam the earth looking for opportunities to throw talent at things.
Yeah, that sounds like fun, man. You are living the dream too, because some of the things you've mentioned are some of the hardest things people find to do, like the exit, exiting, finding talent, running a business without being the one that runs it. I mean, what are your secrets on that?
So I think the critical prerequisite to delegation is having somebody effective to delegate to. Most people that have tried to delegate, which is, get somebody to run the business without them, what they don't realize is they're delegating to the wrong person. It's, wrong person, wrong seat, wrong bus. And we're taught as entrepreneurs the exact wrong way to hire. And it's interesting because if you pull off any business book off your shelf, and these are books by the greats, right? So like Dalio or Covey or Maxwell, it doesn't matter, people that I love and respect. The issue with the way that everybody talks about and teaches us about talent is we refer to talent as a commodity. And you know that because, somebody might say, oh, I need to hire a graphic designer, I need to hire a new attorney, I need to hire a software engineer. Those are conversations of commodity. And a commodity is something that's easily interchangeable. So if you have a New York corn and I have a New York corn and we swap, we're no worse off than we were moments ago. If you have a can of beans and I have a can of beans and we swap, we're no worse off than we were moments ago. Those are commodities, easily interchangeable. If you have a CPA and I have a CPA and we swap, you just potentially ruin my financial life. People are not commodities. Everything that's commoditizable about the person actually nullifies their value, and yet we're taught to find, hire, train, and manage people as though they were. And I think it's a catastrophic error. And I think that's where most of the business world gets the people conversation wrong, which is where they get the delegation conversation wrong, which is why they have a hard time, extricating themselves from the endeavor, because then they end up in this, well, if you want something done, you have to do it yourself. That's true if you're only hiring commodities. But if you hire miracles, which I think every human has the propensity to be a miracle in the right context, you find that they outrun you, dude. Like they go further, faster, harder, stronger, better than you ever will. And your only real job is to get out of their way. And then maybe if you want to level up, get other things out of their way too.
I love that. That's amazing because I work with a lot of small service-based businesses. I'm talking, construction, things like that. And the biggest complaint I hear from every single one, or the most common complaint, is there's nobody good out there to hire.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of it's their problem. They don't know how to delegate. They're definitely not hiring miracles. What would you tell those folks?
I wrote the book. So I wrote a book called Hire. I think it's the greatest book ever written on the topic, if you don't mind me being horribly arrogant. Your audience can have it for free, by the way. There's no ascension or upsell on the other end of it. But if they go to thehirebook.com, they get the book, the workbook, the cheat sheet, all the templates, a global job board that has every job posting segregated by category and geography, and the audiobook. And the reason I'm giving all this away is because I want my name to be synonymous with hiring. So if somebody says, I need to hire, I want people to go, oh, you got to read Kasim's book. And it's 7 steps. It's a workbook. You're 7 steps away from the greatest hire that you ever had in your entire life. And it's all very counterintuitive. To give you some examples, if you don't mind, go to, Indeed or Jobbing or Monster or wherever, go to any job board, the job board of your choice, and look at the job postings. And almost as a rule, you'll see bullshit like, you must comply with all rules and regulations or you will be publicly flogged. Like, job postings sound like death sentences. All of them. Yeah. Your job post is a sales letter if you want peak performers, if you want top talent, which means you have to attract people that are extreme. If you want miracles, attract miracles. Tell them why you're extraordinary. Why are you a fun place to work? Why is it meaningful? What kind of impact do you have? What are you going to offer them? The other thing people have to do, and this is generally pretty repellent to entrepreneurs because we're taught to hire people like commodities. When you're buying commodity, the smart way to buy a commodity is to pay the least and get the most. And, if we're buying petrol, then that's what you do. You pay the least and get the most. Yes. When you're hiring somebody, let's say that the I don't know what, the window for the salary for a Ruby on Rails developer is $80,000 to $100,000 a year, just to use round numbers. I don't know what it is. Let's say it's 80 to 100 grand. The entrepreneur in you that looks at people as commodities wants to pay $79,900 and get the best person they can for $79,900. And what I tell people is, if you want a peak performer, you have to pay 10% more than the high water mark. And then they go, okay, 10% more than $79,900. And I say, no. 10% more than the high water mark is $110,000. So now I'm trying to get these people to swing from $79,900 to $110,000, which is a massive swing. And then they say some shit like, well, no, Kasim, you don't understand my model. You don't understand my margins. You don't understand my business. You don't understand my offering. And then I say, no, you don't understand math. Because what they don't realize is when you hire a peak performer, and this is called the Pareto distribution, which is the most important mathematical equation in both business and in life. When you hire a peak performer, you don't get 10% more or 50% more, 100% more. You get 5 times, 10 times, 100 times the output. You get so much more that it's incalculable. It's impossible to hyperbolize. I couldn't begin to exaggerate it. Paying 10% more than the high watermark gets you a person that will yield so much more that it makes the salary conversation stupid and superfluous. And as evidence of that, if you look at the Pareto distribution, which exists in every organic ecosystem, it's what people call the 80-20 rule. Mm-hmm. And it's true across all categories. And it basically just means that the minority of the input is responsible for the majority of the output. So, for example, 20% of the criminals commit 80% of the crimes, and 20% of your customers are worth 80% of your revenue, and 20% of the employees do 80% of the work. And everybody who's ever worked at a big company knows that's true. As a kid, I worked at a couple call centers, and it was obvious. There were the peak performers, the 20% that did the 80% of the output. But what people don't realize is it's fractal. It's fractal. So let's say 1,000-person organization. That means if you have 1,000-person organization, that means of all the output that organization is able to produce, everything it's able to produce comes from 200 people. And you think like, okay, I've worked at a big company. I've seen that to be true. Great. I buy it. Fine. But zoom in on those 200. And of everything they're producing, 80% comes from 40. Zoom in on the 40. Of everything they're producing, 80% comes from 8. Zoom in on the 8. But basically where you get to is in a 1,000-person organization, one person is responsible for, roughly speaking, 25% of the output. And it's been true in every business. I mentioned I built the #1 ranked Google Ads agency in the world. When I sold my business, we had $100 million in ad spend under management. I had thousands of clients go through my shop. I had almost 100 employees. One person, his name was John Moran, he's the greatest Google Ads mind on the planet, was responsible for managing 40% of my revenue. 40%. And what's funny is if the Goldman Sachs Ivy League douchebag comes as a business consultant and looks at my business, he goes, oh, that's a key man insurance risk, mitigate the risk. And that's when you get like minimums and quotas. And that's why all big companies get bureaucratic, because they can't afford to see existential crisis on a spreadsheet. When in reality, when you mitigate John Moran, you take a functional hierarchy, which is shaped like a pyramid. All of the most valuable assets go to the top of the pyramid, and they flatten it. They cut off the most valuable assets. So you as a small business owner, the only value proposition you have in comparison to big businesses is your ability to leverage top talent. And when you go get these literal miracles, you get the 1 out of 1,000 that can produce 25% of that 1,000-person output. That is what equips your business. When I sold my business, I had 40% margins in an industry that aims at 20% as a high watermark, according to HubSpot, which has more statistics on that than anybody else on the planet. And it's because I was able to find peak performers. And the thing that's nuts about it, Dr. Dave, is they're so unbelievably accessible because the entire rest of the entrepreneurial world, the entire rest of the business world is trying to find mediocrity. They're looking for people to do the minimum. They're looking for people to sit down and just shut up and follow the checklist. So when you position yourself, when you reframe your paradigm, when you look for miracles, ask for miracles, pay like they're miracles, be a fun place to work, don't screenshot their desktops or make them wear leashes on their belt with the little lanyards and the, you know what I mean? Like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
Like, treat them like humans, treat them like adults, honor their work, love on them, make them feel special. Don't make them fill out 3 different TCM reports. Don't put them under the mercy of a manager that doesn't understand the way that they do their job or how they do it. And you'll find people that run through walls. And I've done it over and over and over and over and over. Dude, I'm so much more successful than I deserve to be. I'm not any smarter than anybody else. I've just cracked the talent code. When you're an entrepreneur, the only code you need to crack is the talent code. Entrepreneurs look at every problem that comes into the door and think, oh, that's my problem. I have a finance issue, I have to learn finance. I have an HR issue, I have to learn HR. I have an ops issue, I have to learn ops. I have a marketing issue, I have to learn marketing. Or I have to find someone who knows that, and then I'll never, ever, ever, ever have to worry about that category again. You should be the dumbest person that works for you along any specific level of analysis. And my book will teach you to do that, and it's absolutely free.
All right. And that's thehirebook.com.
Thehirebook.com, yes, sir.
Okay. I'll put that in the show notes, too. I appreciate you giving the gift to all my listeners.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, as soon as we're done, I'm going to go get it myself.
Love it.
So would you agree that like the boss's main responsibility is just to get out of the way once you make a hire?
I think the first line of defense for a boss is to define the vision and define it clearly. So I call it the black box of delegation. The black box of delegation says your job as the owner, the entrepreneur, the visionary, whatever you want to call yourself, is to define the output. What are we doing? What's the desired end result? We are going to cure children of cancer, or we are going to cut down trees in this forest, or we are going to create this new type of house, or we are going to whatever. What's the end result? Mm-hmm. You know, are you a cancer research doc, an arborist, an architect? What's your desired end result? And very often people only make it halfway to that. You know, the cut down trees in the forest example, if you're an arborist, it's like, well, maybe your only job is to cut down trees, but why are you cutting down those trees? Are you cutting down those trees because you're part of a lumber yard, or are you cutting down those trees because you're part of a regenerative farm? Because those are 2 very different outputs, right? Yeah. So define the true desired end result. Once you've defined the desired end result, that's the vision, that's where we're going. That's the output. Then you define the inputs. And the inputs are, here's the amount of money I'm willing to spend, here are the resources available to you, here are other team members, stakeholders, vendors, contractors, software, assets, brand guidelines, whatever. Here's your toolbox. Here's a little bag of goodies that, as the employer, I'm willing to give you. I'll empower you to go get yourself to get to the end result. So you've got your input, you've got your output. Everything that happens from within those 2 lines is a black box. Don't touch it. It's none of your damn business. Don't lift the box. Don't look in the box. Don't mess with the box. Don't consult on the box. Your only job is to begin from an objective perspective. What would you say? Managing, coaching on the output. So if you get an output you don't like, now and here's the other thing too that just pisses me off beyond repair. Business owners, you know, you ask an employee to do something. Let's say, just to use an example that's accessible to everybody because we've all done it. You ask an employee to build you a website. The employee builds you the website, and then what do? You show up and you're like, oh, you know what? Change the red to blue, change the circle to a square. I don't like where that line is. And you start critiquing things that are massively subjective, that have nothing to do with anything. And what you don't realize you did is you completely removed all authorship and ownership from that person. Mm-hmm. Authorship is ownership. And as soon as you start saying that, they take their hands off the wheel and they're like, all right, Dave's driving. This is Dave's website now. And 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months, the second worst thing that can happen is that thing fails. Because then they can go, dude, you're the one that told me, you know, red to blue, square to circle. The first worst thing that can happen is that thing succeeds. Because that's not them. They don't feel any ownership or any value to themselves. They don't feel any pride. You did that.
Yep.
If something is objectively wrong, so like, hey, dude, the studs need to be 18 inches apart. Because if the building inspector comes here and sees that the studs aren't 18 inches apart, then we have to redo it. That's an objective truth. If something's, and by the way, that means you have to go back and modify your inputs. Because if the studs weren't 18 inches apart, Either they didn't follow instructions, which is a whole different problem, or you didn't tell them from an input perspective that was one of the requirements. So go back and modify your input. So generally speaking, objective critiques on the output mean that you didn't give them proper inputs. If it's subjective, shut up. It does not matter. I have businesses with domain names I don't like and brand colors that I don't agree with. And guess what? The person who built it is probably right. What makes me the god of everything? You know, it's like, do you want to be right? Do you want to be successful? And when you let people establish a level of authorship and ownership over something, man, it's crazy what happens. I had a young lady who worked for me. She managed the knowledge base of Solutions 8, which was, it was significant. You know, we were the #1 ranked Google Ads agency in the world. Everybody came to us for the education and training. And so that became a really, really, really important knowledge repository. And she built it from the ground up. She chose the software. It wouldn't have been the software that I chose. She decided on the nomenclature, the categorization, the organization, all that stuff. Didn't do anything the way that I would have done it. Did it better, but didn't do anything the way I would have done it. And then when she got promoted, the thing that was nuts to me was she hired, trained her replacement. Mm-hmm. She gets promoted to an entirely different role. She kept coming back to the knowledge center and like helping, because for her, she was so emotionally invested in this damn thing and spent so much time, effort, and energy. And it was hers. You know what I mean? It wasn't mine. It wasn't the company's. It was hers. And seeing that, and it was actually, to be honest with you, it was a whole other problem. You know, I had to be like, hey, this isn't your job anymore. You know, like, you go do your job, and this gal's got it, and you trained her, and we got to trust her, and we need her, this new person, to have authorship and ownership. And that's when you kind of have to train her to lead. But I think leaders need to humble themselves at the altar of understanding that they're not right, and that if you want to hire somebody to do a job, let them own that job. Entrepreneurs don't understand intrapreneurs. You know, entrepreneurs tend to think that we're better, we're smarter, we're the visionaries. No, like, maybe you get to define the macro vision, but you probably suck at micro vision. That's why you're an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs make horrible employees. So stop telling employees how to do their job. Yep. You know, hire really, really smart, really capable, really proactive people, and then just get the hell out of their way.
Yeah, exactly. So another excuse I hear from a lot of people is, I don't want to hire the best. I'm afraid to hire the miracle so-and-so because they're going to take over my company, or they're going to go start their own company. And I've often not found that to be the case. But what would you say to that excuse?
It's a balance of risks. So first is most people are not entrepreneurial. Douglas Brackman, who's actually kind of a friend of mine, I just met him recently at an event, which is really fun because I read his book first and then I met him. Really, really interesting guy, very brilliant. He wrote a book called Driven. And in the book, he studies the epigenetic phenomena that is entrepreneurship. So 95% of people experience the chemical cocktail of love, which I might get this wrong, Dr. Dave. I'm going to do my best, but I think it's dopamine and serotonin up and norepinephrine down. So an increase in dopamine and serotonin and a decrease in norepinephrine, and that's the feeling of love. But that's also the same feeling that you get when you accomplish a goal. 95% of people experience that chemical cocktail when they achieve a goal. So I've climbed the mountain and I achieved a goal, and there's a flag on the ground, and I get the feeling. Yay me. Those are employees. That's the farmer brain, is what Brackman calls it. That's 95% of the world. That's a normal human. 5% of people, you, me, and most of our listeners, I imagine, are broken. And they experience this chemical cocktail in the pursuit of the goal. I'm climbing the mountain and I feel, man, I'm after it. And I'm so excited and I can't wait. And then I get to the top and interestingly, we crash. It's bad for us. It feels wrong. It feels, there's something about it that hurts. That's the hunter brain. The hunter brain likes the hunt, doesn't like the kill. That's the entrepreneur. Most people are not employees. John Moran, who I mentioned to you earlier, John was the greatest Google Ads mind in the world. He's one of the reasons that we were able to make the exit that we made. He managed 40% of my revenue. John, and I always wondered, I'm like, dude, why don't you just leave? You could just tomorrow steal these clients, make a couple $1 million net to the bottom line, be, just right off into the sunset. And you want to know what John did after we sold Solutions 8?
It was work for somebody else.
Dude, he went and he got another job. He's nerd famous. Go to Reddit. He's the greatest Google Ads mind in the world. He could make millions of dollars a year consulting. But he's straight up about it. He's honest. He's like, dude, I don't want the headache. I don't want the problem. I don't want the logistics. He's an artist. He's a genius. He wants to be in the weeds. So most people are not entrepreneurs, number one. Number two, and this is, let's flip the coin a little bit, because the question really is, how do I retain top talent? And even if they're not going to steal your business, and I don't think they are, They might leave, they might up level, they might go somewhere else. And so the question, how do I retain top talent? And the answer is you don't. You don't retain top talent. Top talent doesn't want to be retained. And there's no reason that you should expect to do that. This is an indentured servitude. They're not your slaves. Instead, realize and understand that top talent more than money, and this is a statistical truism too. There was a survey done by MIT, I think. I think I have the citation right. But they asked peak performers what the most important thing in a job was, and it was growth. It wasn't even money, it was growth opportunity. Yeah. And a peak performer will go somewhere where they're going to grow, which usually means education, but grow professionally, and they'll sacrifice money for that. So as soon as a peak performer runs out of runway in your business, they're going to move on. And the thing is all hierarchical structures are shaped like a pyramid taper at the top. So if you have a bunch of peak performers and you're doing a good job, that means that there's not going to be enough room at every level up for all of them. Yeah. So understand that you will lose them. And the key is to coach them out properly. So what I ask people for is I need 2 years at a minimum. And before you leave, I'd like you to find and train your replacement. And if you're willing to do that for me, you're not allowed to steal my customers. You're not allowed to steal my employees, but I will help you with the transition. I'll refer people to you after the fact. I'll be a reference to you for any new employers. And this has happened. I have 2 examples. Colin Schmelbeck, who's one of the most famous Google Ads specialists in Twitter right now, was my employee. Had the conversation with Colin, said, hey, buddy, I need 2 years, find and train your replacement. I had the extraordinary advantage of having a super brilliant young mind as an employee, helped us grow our business, helped train other employees. And then when he segued out, he found and trained his replacement. And an interesting thing happened. I started referring work to Colin. It was just, anybody that wasn't right for Solutions 8, I would refer over to him and I'd get 10% of the gross rev. So there's a nice little revenue pot for a client I wouldn't necessarily sign. But more interestingly, Colin didn't want to build a big agency. He wanted a lifestyle business. So he would get all these leads because he's ultra famous on Twitter. He'd skim the cream right off the top. And then all the batch and blast customers that he didn't want, which were my bread and butter, he'd refer my way. So I didn't even realize I was cultivating a referral partner. And I've got a few examples like that. Jay Abraham, you know Jay?
No, of him.
So Jay Abraham was referred to me by a Pakistani VA. I had this young man that worked for me, Danish Ashrafi. He first started as a VA and then he kind of became a digital hacker. And I started referring people to him when they needed help that I didn't want to take on his clients. And Danish's business outgrew my employment for him. So Danish moved on and, God bless him. I wished him well and continued to refer people to him. And one day I get an email from him saying, hey, I have a client that's way too big for me. And do you want an introduction? I'm like, sure. And he puts me on an email with Jay Abraham's CMO.
Yeah. Wow.
And I got Jay Abraham as a prospect. I ended up not getting the gig, but it was just this crazy full circle moment. Your employees will become your best strategic partners, your best referral partners, your best. And then the thing that I wish I had done more of, if I were smart, is take an equity stake. Be like, hey man, I'm gonna grow you up. I'm gonna help coach you. I'm gonna invest. I'm gonna, and then you go tackle this little niche that I'm not even in. There's so many growth opportunities with your employees if you're willing to look at them that way.
Oh yeah, man, I love that too because that's all passive or near passive income. Yep. So, before I forget, what's the best place to get in touch with you? What's your website and all that?
You go to kasim.me, Kasim.me. You can have my book for free. You can join my free school community. I do a lot for free, man. All my socials. I just try to give as much value as I can. And then every now and then I'll make an ask. But right now I don't have one. So.
No, I have found, some of the most amazing people in the world just give tons of stuff away. They give away more than the lesser people charge for.
Right.
And it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So I always like to ask everybody that comes on here if you could recommend 3 resources or things that you have leaned on, like the books that are always on your shelf, or that you reread every year, that kind of thing. What would be your top 3 books or people, resources that you'd recommend?
I'd go follow Alex Hormozi with everything that he's ever done. I think Alex right now, Alex hasn't, and I'd be saying this if you're standing next to me. I'm in his mastermind. I love him to death. I'm a big, big fan. Yeah. He's not created anything new. What Alex did, though, was take everything that has been taught in terms of marketing and entrepreneurship and make it so extraordinarily accessible. I have 2 children. They're 8 and 10 years old, and I have them watch Alex's videos, and they get it. Like, he really, God forgive me for saying, but he dumbs it down in a way that I need. So read his books, take his courses. They're all free. Everything he's done so far is free. He's a pretty amazing human. I think that's been one of the most important resources I've ever had.
I've got his new scaling book behind me. That webinar he did about a month ago. It's pretty amazing. I thought it was going to be an hour, and the dude sat there talking for 4 or 5 hours.
He really dove deep. Number two is my own, if you don't mind me self-promoting. It's also free.
No, not at all.
I've got a free school community. We just reached 1,000 members, and I teach people the frameworks for business. It'll be free forever. There's no upseller ascension, and I teach one new framework every week. And the thing that I noticed, and this is true of Alex and all the other thought leaders, is they like to provide the education, but they don't do a very good job providing the how-to on a granular level. It's like, all right, here's what to do, but not necessarily how to do it. And so I took it upon myself to teach like really the nuts and bolts. Every training is an hour long. And what I teach people is to work, deep work is done in 5-hour blocks. And 5-hour blocks can be 1 hour a day, every day of the week, or you could do 5 hours on a weekend if you want to, nail a framework once a month, whatever's accessible to you. But I need 5 hours from you. And if you give me 5 hours a month, you'll do one extraordinarily meaningful thing inside of your business every month. You're going to spend the first hour learning. You're going to spend the next 3 hours doing. We have an epidemic of education. People love to watch, read, learn, listen, but they don't like doing. Every hour spent learning, there should be 3 hours spent doing. And then you're going to spend an hour iterating on something that you've done prior to. So 1 hour spent learning, 3 hours spent doing, 1 hour spent iterating. That's the 5 hours. And if you gave me 5 hours a month, by the end of the year, you would have done 12 extraordinarily valuable things inside of your business. And you can go to school.com/3xf. That's also at theCasim.me. And that's, I hope, something that's going to make, a pretty significant impact on especially new entrepreneurs. Yeah. Because dude, I mean, I'm a welfare baby. I didn't start with shit. When you start out, there's very little help, and now that I've got money, everything's so easy. It's so easy. Once you have money, just the ability to hire well, pay for the education, pay for the resources. So I'd like to make as much available as I possibly can. And then I think resource number 3, to be honest with you, is going to be, trite and cliche. But dude, if you're not hitting up the University of YouTube, you know what I mean? Like everything you've ever wanted to know before you even go to ChatGPT, before we hit AI, I think YouTube is on both levels. I think creating content creators should go to YouTube before they go anywhere else because it's middle of the funnel, it's high value, it's super deep. And then I think if you're consuming, if you're really looking for how to do it, I think the YouTube creators do it right. So I hope I did that okay.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. And I mean, me and you got a lot in common. Just so the stuff you're saying and recommending, I mean, so amazing stuff that I've already taken advantage of myself, but I'm going to have to look into some of this other stuff you mentioned, especially your school community. I've not gotten into that yet. So, but I am a victim of the learning. I read too much and put too little of that into practice. I used to pride myself on reading 100 books a year. Yeah. And then at the end of the year, I couldn't remember half of what I read.
Yeah, same. It's funny because people will be like, oh, have you read, whatever, David Hawkins? And I'm like, yes, I've read everything he's ever written. But I don't really remember, you know what I mean? Like I've read 20 of his books, but I couldn't even tell you the difference between most of them at a certain point. It all bleeds into white noise. Yeah. So I think reading and taking action on one book is better than reading 50 and, everything.
Absolutely. So what do you do for fun when you're not doing business?
I got 2 little boys and they're my whole world, man. I just went camping with them. We were in the wilderness of northern Idaho at this really cool, it's called Twin Eagles. It's this guy, Tim, and Tim teaches you outdoor survival. So they learn how to make fire with flint and steel. We created our own shelter and slept in it, figured out what you can eat, that you find out what you can and can't eat and how to use it, how to make your own medicine. It was amazing. It was tons of fun. And I just like hanging out with them. Not next month. A week and a half from now, we're going on a Caribbean cruise. So, the thing you shouldn't do to poor people is give them money because then we spoil the children rotten. Like my boys are just ruined, dude. There's no hope for them. But yeah, I just hang out with my kids.
Yeah. And I mean, they're spoiling, but there's also some of the stuff you're talking about, like what you did last week. I mean, that's a core memory at that age.
Yeah,
they're always going to remember that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when we got out there the first day or two, they're like, we want to go home. We miss, they wanted indoor plumbing and Xbox. And I was really kind of upset about it. Just sad for me. I was like, oh man, I thought this would be fun. I thought they'd be into it. And my friend, John Vroman, who runs Front Row Dads, it's the best mastermind I've ever been a part of, by the way. John goes, no. That's what you want because that's what's going to make them grateful. They're not grateful for warm water or a bed. Yeah. I mean, why would they be? That's just been their ubiquitous truth their entire life until we spent 5 5 nights sleeping under a teepee, and then the 6th night sleeping in a dirt mound that we made ourselves. Now they're like, oh, look at how lucky we are. So there's even something about the inbuilt hormesis of that type of, call it like micro friction, that I think is just so necessary for them.
Yeah, amazing. Now, what area of the world do you live in? Are you out west?
Scottsdale. No, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, but I'm shopping for a homestead. I think I'm gonna move I'll go as far north as Maine and as far south as North Carolina. I want something on the East Coast. I want to be around green, man. I want green, I want water, I want hills, I want a little hobby farm. The only rich kids I've ever really respected are the children of the agrarian folks.
Yeah.
Ranchers, farmers, horse people, because no matter what happens, you just got to wake up and feed something. And it's sad where I am. I'm surrounded by a lot of wealth, and you're seeing 13-year-olds with cocaine habits. You know what I mean? Like it just gets, and the children of the wealthy they're not bad people at all, just like anybody else, but they have zero ability to handle any stress.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the line at Starbucks is too long, they just, you see them melt, and it's like, man, you have no sense of reality. So I want to pull my kids out of that before it starts to get get its tendrils into them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm in South Carolina. I mean, I'm sitting on the dream here. I've got 10 acres, and looking to buy another 300 adjacent to me.
No, you are sitting on the dream.
Yeah. Right now I'm running the little tiny homestead. We got guinea birds and cats and everything else rolling around.
Oh, I love that, man. You're doing exactly what I want to do. There's actually a place, I think it's in South Carolina. I've got screw you money, not F you money, but if I had quite a bit more, it's $22 million, and I think it's 1,700 acres, and there's this beautiful cabin, not ostentatious, but pretty, and it's built over a waterfall, this massive waterfall. And that's my dream, dude. If I could get my hands on, I want at least 100 acres, and I have this weird childish obsession with waterfalls.
No, that's the dream, man. If you can buy something where there's running water on the property, I mean, that's magical there. I mean, because I don't have that. I've got a nice place, but that's like the only thing that's missing.
Yeah, that's what I want. And I'd like to be close to. I don't want to be on a lake, but I like to be close to a lake or close to a beach, because water sports I think are tons of fun. But I'd like a river or a creek running through the property, and then close enough to a lake to actually do some damage.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I grew up at the ocean. I like the lakes and the mountains better because nothing here tries to eat me.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. I was just in the mountains, and there was some shit that definitely wanted to eat us. They were like, be careful of the mountain lions. And I'm like, oh, okay. I promise.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I appreciate you being on here with me, man. That's pretty amazing. And I appreciate the free gift for the readers. And of course, not just a free gift for them, but because it sounds like you give away tons of stuff. And I encourage all the listeners to take advantage of that. Because, I mean, it's a wealth of education there that's going to beat anything they could get in a business school.
I hope so. And, the one thing I would ask, if people don't mind, if they read the book and they like the book, to write me a review. It's on Amazon. They don't need it. They can have it for free. But the more people that review the book, the more likely it's found and is findable. So for, whatever that's worth, that would be really helpful. But otherwise, man, I'm just, I'm here to give. And I've gotten a lot. The whole wide world has given to me in some way or another. So I hope I'm just, participating in the circle of life.
Yeah. And so the next stage for you is, aside from the homestead, is becoming synonymous with hiring, you said, right?
Yeah, I want to build a brand that feels global. You know what I mean? Like, I want everybody to know who I am and what I'm doing. From I don't know what to call it, a philanthropic perspective, but from a purpose-driven perspective, I'd like to help people in emerging nations find meaningful work.
Yeah.
So when you read the book about hiring, what you'll find is I have a penchant for international hiring specifically, because I was born on the right side of an arbitrary line. I like to say I'm a welfare baby, but really what that means is I'm a trust fund baby, because the United States Social Security Office paid for my food, my lodging, my education. You know what I mean? Like, what a country!
Yeah.
What a country! Like, me and my baby brother, we were fed my mom was blind, my dad jumped ship, and we still got taken care of, and we built something here that's ultra special, and not everybody has that. Yeah. And so I think if there is something that we can do to make a meaningful impact for the rest of the world, I think it's employment. Just sending money doesn't do anything. It hurts more than it helps, and there's enough data on that to be, I think.
Oh yeah, the whole toxic charity movement.
Dude, it's bad. I mean, we've destroyed entire ecosystems, as a matter of fact. But when you help people get a job, That has an anthropological impact, especially a job working from home. Most countries don't have work at home opportunities. And when you let a parent stay home around the children, even if they're working, teen gang involvement rate goes down, teen pregnancy goes down, teen drug use goes down. Like, it's so impactful. And then when you're paying them more than they'd ever make domestically, their ability to impact their local economy is huge.
Oh yeah.
So, and when you pay, dude, if you go to Colombia, you pay somebody in Colombia $3,000 a month, which for us is like, I couldn't get somebody to work at a grocery store for $3,000 a month, but in Colombia, you can get, I swear to God, a triple PhD for that. And they will blow your mind what they're capable of. And, I think the average Colombian right now is making $500 or $600 USD a month. So imagine making 6 times your peers, and the impact that has on local economies.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and all that free time. I mean, they're going to be going out eating more. They're going to be helping other people and passing it down.
Yeah, and they do. I've got a staffing agency. We have 100 EAs trained out of Colombia and Argentina. And man, I get these messages that are so heartwarming all the time. I had a young man tell me this is the first home I've ever lived in after I got a job at Pareto.
Yeah.
Another guy, because he'd never had PTO before, another guy took time off and went and toured with his band. It's super cool, the impact that we make.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I appreciate you spending some time with me, man.
Thanks for being with me, Dr. David. I appreciate you. And everybody listening, thanks for your time and attention.
Yeah. Take care.
All right, buddy.
Hey, everybody. Before we close out, first of all, I hope you enjoyed that podcast, whether it was an interview with an amazing entrepreneur or a business lesson for me. I sincerely hope that you gain something from it that you can use in your life moving forward. Before I leave, though, I need to mention that this podcast is sponsored by Lowe's Home Improvement Stores. I have become a Lowe's creator. It's a pretty cool thing because on this farm, I'm looking out the window right now and seeing all the things that I want to do around here. Most of these things I can do with products from Lowe's Home Improvement. And so I'm excited to be a Lowe's creator. If you want to check out some things from them and order some stuff and see my specially curated Lowe's storefront, you can click in the show notes. There's a link there for you. And I hope you build some amazing things. And hey, you know what? If you do, send me pictures. I would absolutely love to see the amazing things that you're building at your house using Lowe's products or anything else, really. I'm just curious. I want to know everything about you and everything about the cool projects you're doing because I'll be honest with you, I get some neat ideas for things I want to do at my house as well. All right, y'all take care. Thanks for listening.